Hey guys, I wanted to make a gray Jedi theory video, and I've talked about this briefly in some of my other theory videos, but I wanted to talk about my gray Jedi theory for a whole video. And I wanted to spend this whole video talking about why I think Star Wars is going in the direction of the gray Jedi. I think they're going in that direction for their future films and for the franchise. So, firstly, I want to talk about the Ahsoka novel. The Ahsoka novel came out in 2016, and it's by E.K. Johnson. The story in the Ahsoka novel takes place about a year after the events of Revenge of the Sith. If you don't know who Ahsoka is, Ahsoka was Anakin's apprentice, and she is a badass. In the book, Ahsoka realizes that the Jedi were wrong to be involved in politics, and they were wrong to be involved in the war. She also acknowledges how the Jedi were wrong to believe in not having attachments. And Ahsoka, in the book, she thinks to herself how the Jedi should have just been peacekeepers. They should have just defended the weak. They shouldn't have gotten involved in all the politics and all the aspects of the war. So in the book, when Ahsoka is talking to Bail Organa, she talks about Barriss Offee. And she talks about how Barriss was wrong with how she let her anger cloud her judgment, but that she was right with the fact that the Jedi were too locked into their traditions. So I'm going to read a couple of passages from the book that I feel like are hinting towards the gray Jedi. So there's this one conversation between Ahsoka and Bail Organa. In this fight, there will be people like Barriss who are focused on the past, he said. And there will be other people who focus strongly on the future. Neither of them is wrong exactly, but even if we don't always walk the same path as one another, ours must be the middle road. Ahsoka smiled. That's what I thought when I was trying to find the crystals that power my lightsabers, she told him. I didn't want to be alone, but I didn't want to be a general or even a Padawan anymore. I want something in the middle of that, still useful, but different than before. So Ahsoka is saying how she wants to meet in the middle, and gray Jedi, they meet in the middle. Gray Jedi don't follow the traditions of the Jedi. So both of these characters are talking about meeting in the middle. It keeps getting repeated. And Ahsoka talks about how she wants to be something different than before. And I feel like that is leading to a change with the Jedi. I feel like there will be a new generation of Jedi, but they're going to be different. They're not going to be like how they were before. I love the part in the book where Bail Organa is talking about the past and the future, how people focus on the past or they just focus on the future. And I feel like that is such a big theme with Star Wars, especially with the new series, because the First Order is trying to act like the Empire, and the Resistance is trying to act like the Rebels, but they're not. And the whole theme of Kylo in The Last Jedi, kill the past, let the past die, I feel like that all fits with the whole past and future thing. And a lot of the characters in The Last Jedi couldn't let go of the past. They're trying to act like something in the past. Like I mentioned, the Resistance is trying to act like the Rebels. The First Order is trying to act like the Empire. Luke was trying to make his new Jedi Order like the old Jedi Order. I felt like when I watched The Last Jedi, and with the scene with Yoda, when Yoda blew up the tree and burnt the text and all of that, he was saying to Luke how they weren't page turners and everything. And I think what Yoda was also trying to say to Luke was that not everything has to be like the past. And that the Jedi text, that didn't have to be the answer to do everything. In the Ahsoka novel, it also talks about Obi-Wan's time on Tatooine. It shows a little bit of him on Tatooine right after the events of Revenge of the Sith. And Obi-Wan basically comes to the conclusion, just like Ahsoka, how the Jedi were wrong with how they handled things, and he in a nutshell, acknowledges how the Jedi were wrong to try to not have attachments. During this part of the book, he's thinking about Anakin and Padme. I also believe that he was thinking about Satine because he was in love with Satine. And during Obi-Wan's isolation, he basically, in a nutshell, comes to the conclusion that the Jedi tried not to love people, but it was impossible. It was impossible not to love people, not to fall in love with people, not to care about people. I want to talk about a character that appeared on Star Wars Rebels named the Bendu. The Bendu appears in a good amount of episodes on Star Wars Rebels. The Bendu describes himself as neither dark or light, but as the one in the middle. The episodes with the Bendu, they aired before The Last Jedi, so I think that has a lot of significance. So I want to talk about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. There's this quote by a gray Jedi character named Julie Bendo in Knights of the Old Republic, and I feel like this quote has a lot of significance. In Knights of the Old Republic, Julie Bendo says to Revan, "Love doesn't lead to the dark side. Passion can lead to rage and fear and can be controlled. But passion is not the same thing as love. Controlling your passion while being in love, that's what they should teach you to beware. But love itself will save you, not condemn you." I love this quote for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons why I love this quote is because I feel like this quote sums up the story of Star Wars. Love is the theme in Star Wars. In the original series, Vader saved Luke because that was his son, because of his father he loved. That is why the Emperor was defeated. And the other reason why I love this quote is because so many of the characters in Star Wars have not gotten this. They have not grasped the idea that it is love. It's love that saves people, is love that will save you. And a lot of the characters, when they do realize this notion, they usually realize it later, like Obi-Wan, like Ahsoka. Many of the Jedi characters, and Julie Bendo says this to Revan, that the Jedi do not get this. They think they should just not have attachments, when it's reality, it's love that is what matters. I'm hoping that this quote applies to Kylo and Rey, considering that the story of Revan and Bastila is basically the same story of Kylo and Rey. I've talked about how Obi-Wan and Ahsoka realized how the Jedi were wrong, and Yoda also realized how the Jedi were wrong too. There's a Yoda arc in the Clone Wars television show called The Lost Missions, and there's an arc with Yoda when Yoda basically goes on like this little spirit journey, and he realizes that the Jedi were wrong. There's a point in this Yoda arc where Yoda acts like he's not afraid, and he basically fights himself, and he has to accept the fact that he is afraid, and that in a nutshell, the Jedi were wrong in not admitting that they had flaws. So the point of the Yoda arc is that it's okay to have flaws, just don't give into your flaws. So the way that the Jedi were unbalanced is that they tried so hard to be perfect and couldn't accept the fact they had flaws, and the Sith were wrong with the fact that they were giving in to their flaws. I talk more about the Yoda arc in a other video that I did. If you want to check that out, I go into more detail about that. And another thing that Yoda has to accept is the fact that he failed. He keeps feeling like a failure, which I felt like that theme was shown so much in The Last Jedi. The whole thing with Luke reminded me so much of Yoda's arc in The Lost Missions. The Lost Missions, this Yoda arc, It came out in 2014, a year before Force Awakens came out in 2015. Anything in Star Wars can be used no matter what time it came out, but the fact that this arc came out a year before Force Awakens, I feel like that means something. So when Yoda returns from his little spirit journey, there is a shot at the end of the episode that I find really interesting. At the end of the episode, after Yoda is talking to Obi-Wan and Mace Windu, the camera goes up, like it pans up, and it does a close-up on a flower. The episode ends with this close-up of this flower. Usually when the camera focuses on something, on an object, that means that it has a lot of importance. I think this flower is very similar to the shot of Rey's flower in The Force Awakens. In The Force Awakens, when we see Rey's little at home, we see this flower. And in Force Awakens, they focus on the flower. They focus on Rey's flower and her at home. I feel like the close-up shot of the flower in the Clone Wars Yoda arc, and then the close-up of Rey's flower and her at home, I feel like that is a motif. I feel like that's a symbol. I feel like the flower symbolizes balance, and I think it symbolizes how Rey is the balance. And in the Yoda arc, they're talking about peace being brought to the galaxy, and then it does that shot of that flower, and I feel like the shots are very similar too. I also don't think it's a coincidence, considering how close the dates were, that the Yoda arc came out in 2014, a year before Force Awakens came out in 2015. Talk about this in more detail in one of my other videos, but I just wanted to bring this back up. I feel like that all this is pointing to the gray Jedi theory. And the other thing is too, usually a story, when it's at its ending, it goes back to its beginning. And the beginning of the story was Phantom Menace, and it really began with Quigon. And Quigon was right. The Jedi were wrong. The Jedi and the Council were wrong. And Quigon, in a lot of ways, was like a gray Jedi. He was very unconventional with how he was a Jedi. And in other news, I was so excited when I heard that Liam Neeson said he would be interested in returning as Qui-Gon. I would love to see that in an Obi-Wan movie. They could easily make him a Force ghost. I would love to see Qui-Gon as a Force ghost. I loved his character, and it's Liam Neeson. He's played so many cool characters. I really want Kylo and Rey to become gray Jedi. I think that Kylo and Rey are supposed to bring balance. In the trailers, they kept saying balance, and in The Last Jedi, when Rey was training of Luke, she was talking about the balance, light, darkness, the balance. And Kylo and Rey are like yin and yang, and you can't have yin and yang if you kill one of them. So with all the books and all the expanded universe stuff, I feel like they're prepping up for the gray Jedi. I feel like they're prepping it up for episode 9 and for the future films of Star Wars. I felt like they were teasing, like there was a lot of things in The Last Jedi that felt like a tease for the gray Jedi. If you guys enjoyed my video, please give it a big thumbs up, please like it, and please subscribe. If you have any theories you'd like to share, please let me know what they are in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you guys. On a different topic, since this is fairly recent news, how do you guys feel about the creators of Games of Thrones writing and producing a series of Star Wars films? I'm honestly not sure how I feel about that. Anyways, thanks guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. And remember, may the Force be with you.